So this is something that I've only thought about recently, and this is adapted for solo play. This is actually a good way to talk this out because this ends up being just the things that I've thought about since going over. It's not we've spent more than one day on different RPGs, so we haven't gone over 195 RPGs. We've done some board games too, but so far a significant number of RPGs, but adapted for solo play as well. Because one of the things that I'm trying to do, and see, this might mean player facing or player facing options, or player facing optionally, or optionally player facing, whatever. These are the kind of notes. I noticed that Knave did that. I thought that was interesting that Knave kind of gave both. Because one thing that I don't like when I'm playing like the Hero Quest, like we'll be playing on Friday night, when I'm playing Hero Quest live, I have to roll for the monster's defense. Now, it's not that big a deal. But if I'm playing solo, I don't like rolling for the bad guys. You know, I like rolling for my character. I especially liked, you know, I've been playing last Friday, I played all 4 heroes. But the other times I played just one. And I kind of like playing just one because I like the feel of things, I like getting into it. And you can do that better, I think, with just one. But if you're adapted for playing solo, because I want people to experience my worlds, my ultimate purpose here, and what I think is the most value that I bring to the table. Could be wrong about this. You can make a judgment call on this later. But what I think the most value that I bring are these worlds that I'm trying to create. And I feel like I'm struggling to get material out for it. But I'm trying to create these worlds. I want people to experience the worlds. Some people are able to get how can you experience the worlds? Well, you can do that through story. Okay, so there's stories. You can do that by yourself. Read a story or watch a video. So that's a major way to experience worlds. That's one of the reasons why I like tabletop games so much, whether that's a role-playing game or whether that's more of a board game style thing, because it's allowing you to experience something. It's giving you an experience. You're experiencing a world. It's great when you can get a whole group of people together to play. All right. And then you can experience the world in that way. That's kind of your ideal tabletop RPG experience. But also, I don't want to discount solo play. And so there could be like solo adventure books. But like, say you want to experience the world, you have an hour or two. You say, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of watching a TV show, I'm going to try to experience this world. I want this rule set to be able to accommodate solo play. And actually, this is one of the reasons why I decided I need to come back and pick up Fated Edge, because I thought, you know what I would like after writing the world primer for the Tales of Ravivania, I was like, what if I did one of these solo adventures for that you could play? And I've really enjoyed that with Pathfinder did that. You know, we've got several different games, Pathfinder first edition and second edition. We've got several different games that had a solo play version in them, right? Where you could sit down, you could learn. And I enjoyed that. Some things I think work better than others. Like, for instance, the hit point, grinding away at hit points. I don't think that works around a table either, but it really didn't work when you were trying to do a solo play. Okay, now roll for, you attack the bad guy, which is roll to hit. Did you hit? Roll for damage. Okay, bad guy attacks you then because it's the bad guy's turn. Roll to hit. If they hit you, roll for damage. Are they dead? Okay, no, nobody's dead. Okay, then do it again. I want to be faster than that. So if you were playing a solo version, if I wrote out this like solo book and you're like, all right, so I'm going to experience this world, I need this to be solo play. And that might mean that if the bad guy attacks you, then you might need to defend yourself. You roll to defend yourself. So that's something that I've just recently been thinking about that. So does that mean player facing? A downside to me about player facing, the downside to player facing is that if you're not playing solo, hey, the game master is a player too. Now, I'm not talking about player and game master distinctions. I'm talking about sitting down at the table. The game master is a player, is playing the game too. And sometimes game masters like to roll dice. We might use cards, but the game masters like to draw things, have the random element too. So to me, a problem with completely player facing is that, hey, the game master's playing too and might want to roll some dice. But that's why I do kind of like this idea of optionally player facing. Can you reverse it so that if you're in a solo situation, or just if people prefer that at the table, to make everything player facing optionally? That would be ideal if the system could accommodate both. So if you're playing with a game master, you're not doing everything player facing. Sometimes the monster attacks you and rolls to hit you. But if you're in some kind of solo situation, then you could only be concerned with your character, and you wouldn't be in a situation where you have to roll for the opponent. Fate can be player facing. You just need to make them roll 8 dice, and the GM doesn't need to roll. We need to talk about that. I had a discussion on Twitter with somebody who sometimes shows up here, but we had a discussion when we get to get to like opposed rolls. As much as I like active, I call it active defense. You make an attack, you're actively attacking. I mean, it can be any type of opposed roll, but attack and defend. You're attacking and defending, and you both add the same random element. I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem. I like it because I like both players to be active, and players in the broad sense, both player and game master. And I think that's because my first experience with this kind of thing was Hero Quest, and Hero Quest has active attack and active defense. You roll to attack, and then the Zargon player gets to roll to defend the monsters. Zargon likes defending monsters. Zargon attacks you, player gets to defend, right? And players like to defend themselves. So I like it for that reason, but oftentimes when the random element is symmetrical, it doesn't work because they cancel out. The random element cancels out. I know not in any particular circumstance, but overall, what's happening is your random elements are canceling out. Yeah, see, depending on the system and the situation, switching to player-facing roles can often significantly change the success probabilities for the action being adjudicated. GM should keep this in mind. Yeah, that's important. Like if it's changing the success probabilities, which in Knave it does not, but if it is changing the success probabilities, then that's bad. Then it's not really optional. Well, I mean, it could be optional if the game master is okay with it, but it should be something, I think, that where you're not having to change the success probabilities. Neutral Master says, I always like rolling for defense. Yeah, GURPS does that too. Like I said, and then I experienced a lot of GURPS. I played Hero Quest and then also GURPS. So I always like rolling for defense. That's how GURPS handle it. I don't like having a static AC. So I also potentially like that for that reason. GURPS always has active defense. Roll to hit, roll to defend, then roll for damage. I have trouble coming up with a good way to do it for gaming reasons. That's something we really need to attack. We got a lot to talk about as far as game design. Actually, in some ways, I feel like we've looked at enough games and we still have more games to look at. So we're still gonna be looking at games. Maybe we should do some more game design kinds of discussions here, more than just once a week, because in a real sense, especially before we get into wargaming, because eventually we'll do some wargaming. But in a real sense, we've looked at so many different rule systems by now throughout the entire morning grind that we should start being able to put something together and create something based on everything that we have learned. Yeah, I mean, you could do that, Joel. As Joel says, in Solo Hero Quest, example monsters can have a static value equal to the fraction of their defend die total. But getting to the fraction of the defend die total, because it's only a 1 in 6 chance of rolling a black shield. Either that or defend dice can be added to their body total. You could do that. That would require more thought. That's not an easy change to make. Neutral Master says they don't cancel out. The total of 8 DF, 8 fate dice, makes the result more extreme and can also be centered on the bell curve, both more and less predictable. We'll talk more about what I mean by that, by the canceling out.